Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Breaking news: tensions explode at Scarborough Shoal as Chinese and Philippine vessels face off. This is not just a local issue, it has captured the attention of the entire world, as the potential for escalation looms large. The world is watching a dangerous standoff in the West Philippine Sea, where Chinese Coast Guard ships have blocked Philippine vessels from a traditional fishing ground. This area, rich in resources, has long been a point of contention, and the current situation is a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial disputes. The confrontation is more than a dispute over fishing rights. It's a test of international law and regional stability. The international community is keenly observing how this situation unfolds, as it could set a precedent for future maritime disputes worldwide. The Philippines, outmatched but resolute, stands firm against a global superpower. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Philippine Coast Guard remains steadfast, determined to protect its sovereignty and the rights of its fishermen. Every move is scrutinized, every radio call monitored, as the world wonders if this will spark open conflict. Intelligence analysts are working around the clock, assessing the situation and preparing for any possible outcomes. The immediate fear: a single miscalculation could have devastating consequences. The tension is palpable, with every decision carrying the weight of potential escalation. Video footage shows Chinese ships maneuvering aggressively, dwarfing the smaller Philippine Coast Guard vessels. This display of power is a clear message from Beijing, asserting its claims over the disputed waters. This is a calculated show of force by Beijing, despite an international tribunal ruling in favor of the Philippines. The ruling, which China has refused to recognize, adds another layer of complexity to the already tense situation. The United States, a treaty ally, is watching closely, with high-level talks underway in Manila and Washington. The alliance between the US and the Philippines is being tested, as both nations navigate the delicate balance of diplomacy and defense. The possibility of US naval deployment is on the table, raising the stakes even higher. Such a move would signal a significant escalation, potentially drawing in other regional powers and altering the balance of power in the Pacific. One wrong move could ignite a conflict with global implications. The stakes are incredibly high, with the potential for a regional conflict to spiral into a larger international crisis. The world is on edge. As the situation develops, nations around the globe are preparing for the potential fallout, hoping for a peaceful resolution but bracing for the worst. The Scarborough Shoal standoff is just the latest in China's campaign of aggression in the West Philippine Sea. Beijing uses its Navy, Coast Guard, and maritime militia to harass and displace Filipino fishermen and authorities. Chinese vessels have repeatedly used powerful water cannons, causing injuries and damage. Fighter jets fly low over Philippine-held islands, sending a clear message of military dominance. Hundreds of Chinese ships, including disguised militia boats, swarm contested waters daily. This gray zone warfare aims to assert China's sweeping 9-line claim, rejected by international law. Instead of backing down, China has militarized artificial islands with runways and missile systems. China's shadow grows, pushing the region closer to crisis. The naval imbalance is stark. The Philippine Navy's 2 modern frigates are outnumbered and outgunned by China's massive fleet of advanced warships. China can deploy dozens of destroyers and frigates, while the Philippines relies on a handful of modern ships and older patrol vessels. Most Philippine ships lack advanced weapons and sensors, making them vulnerable in any direct clash. The military knows a naval battle would be disastrous, so it relies on smart tactics and hopes for allied support. Building a credible deterrent takes decades and resources the Philippines doesn't have. For now, courage and strategy are their best defense. Sending their best ships into a direct fight would be a huge gamble. The stakes couldn't be higher. The United States is not a bystander. In the unfolding drama of the South China Sea, America stands as a vigilant and active participant, shaping the region's security landscape. As the Philippines' treaty ally, Washington maintains a powerful and enduring presence in the Indo-Pacific. American military bases, ships, and aircraft are strategically positioned across the region, ready to respond at a moment's notice. The U.S. 7th Fleet, the largest forward-deployed fleet in the world, regularly sends carrier strike groups, destroyers, and submarines near the contested waters of the South China Sea. Their presence is a constant reminder of American commitment to regional stability. Joint U.S.-Philippine military exercises, such as the annual Balikatan drills, have grown in both scale and complexity. These exercises now simulate real-world scenarios, from amphibious assaults to cyber defense, preparing both nations for a range of possible threats. These drills not only improve tactical cooperation and interoperability, but also send a strong, unmistakable message to Beijing. The alliance is robust and ready to defend shared interests. U.S. warships and advanced surveillance planes constantly monitor Chinese naval movements, gathering intelligence and sharing critical information with Manila. This real-time intelligence strengthens the Philippines' ability to respond to any provocation. American military might provide a crucial backstop for the Philippines, reassuring its leaders and people that they are not alone in facing regional threats. But the U.S. presence is a delicate balancing act, deterring Chinese aggression without provoking a direct military confrontation. Every maneuver is calculated, every response measured. Every freedom of navigation operation is closely watched and fiercely protested by Beijing. Chinese officials denounce these patrols as provocations, while state media stirs nationalist sentiment at home. The U.S. fleet is both a powerful deterrent and a potential tripwire for a much larger conflict. The stakes are not just regional, they are global. As tensions rise, the world is watching, hoping that strength and diplomacy will prevail over confrontation. At the heart of the U.S.-Philippines alliance lies the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, a historic agreement that has shaped the security landscape of Southeast Asia for over 7 decades. Signed in the aftermath of World War II, this treaty was designed to ensure that both nations would stand together in the face of external aggression, forging a bond that has endured through changing times and shifting global dynamics. The treaty commits both countries to come to each other's aid if either is attacked, creating a powerful deterrent against would-be aggressors. This mutual promise is not just symbolic, it forms the backbone of military cooperation, joint exercises, and intelligence sharing between the two nations. In recent years, Washington has clarified its stance, stating that any armed attack on Philippine forces, aircraft, or vessels in the South China Sea could trigger U.S. intervention under the treaty. This explicit commitment is meant to reassure Manila and send a clear message to potential adversaries. The stakes are high. China, asserting its claims over disputed waters, is betting that the United States would hesitate to risk a major conflict over a remote shoal. Meanwhile, the Philippines is testing the true extent of American resolve, seeking to ensure its sovereignty is protected. The risk of escalation in the region is immense. A direct clash between U.S. and Chinese forces could quickly spiral out of control, potentially drawing in other nations and igniting a global crisis with far-reaching consequences. The Mutual Defense Treaty acts as both a shield and a potential trigger, requiring careful and deliberate decision-making before any military response is taken. Every move is weighed with the utmost caution. U.S. action under the treaty is not automatic. It demands high-level consultation, strategic assessment, and consensus among top leaders before any commitment of force is made. This element of uncertainty is a vulnerability that China seeks to exploit, probing for weaknesses and testing the alliance's resolve through military maneuvers and gray zone tactics. Despite these challenges, the Philippines continues its patrols and missions in contested waters, determined to defend its maritime rights, while China looks for opportunities to undermine the alliance. Around the world, leaders and citizens alike hope that diplomacy and dialogue will prevail, preventing conflict and preserving stability in the region. As tensions simmer, the future of the U.S.-Philippines alliance and the peace of the wider Indo-Pacific hangs in the balance, watched closely by the entire world. The Philippines has chosen a strategy of de-escalation. Instead of sending Navy warships, it deploys Coast Guard and civilian vessels to contested waters. This frames the conflict as law enforcement, not military aggression, putting the burden of escalation on China. By keeping its Navy back, Manila maintains the moral high ground and avoids giving Beijing a pretext for military action. It's strategic jujitsu, asserting sovereignty while lowering the risk of open warfare. Coast Guard vessels are still protected under the Mutual Defense Treaty, forcing the U.S. to confront its obligations if attacked. This approach minimizes the risk of deadly clashes and keeps the conflict below the threshold of war. It's a nuanced, brave strategy for a dangerous problem. The Philippines walks a tightrope, balancing deterrence and restraint. The world takes note. In this struggle, the Philippines wields a new weapon, the smartphone. By documenting and publicizing every Chinese act of aggression, Manila exposes Beijing's tactics to the world. Journalists embedded on patrols capture dramatic footage of Chinese ships blocking and harassing Filipino vessels. These images quickly circulate globally, shaping public opinion and rallying international support. Assertive transparency has turned a regional dispute into a global test of the rules-based order. China, used to controlling information, struggles to counter the flood of evidence. International condemnation grows, isolating Beijing diplomatically. The Philippines fights back with information, not just ships. In the information age, transparency is a powerful tool. Assertive transparency hasn't stopped China's aggression. If anything, it's made Beijing more reckless. Recently, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel deliberately rammed a Philippine supply boat, escalating from intimidation to direct assault. The damaged Filipino vessel was forced to retreat, highlighting the real dangers crews face. China's willingness to risk injury or death is clear. The international community condemned the act, but Beijing doubled down, increasing military drills and deploying larger, more capable ships. Satellite images show Chinese forces rehearsing island seizures and live-fire exercises. China's maritime militia is better equipped and more aggressive than ever. The region is on a literal and figurative collision course. The risk of a wider conflict grows with every incident. The world watches, anxious for what comes next. At the heart of the standoff is the BRP Sierra Madre, a rusting ship grounded on Second Thomas Shoal. Filipino Marines live aboard, symbolizing Philippine sovereignty under constant Chinese pressure. China wants the ship gone, enforcing a blockade to starve out the Marines or let the vessel collapse. Every resupply mission is a flashpoint, met with aggressive Chinese tactics. The 2016 arbitral ruling confirms the Philippines' legal rights, but China ignores it. The fate of the Sierra Madre is a test of wills and of international law. The US warns that an attack could trigger the Mutual Defense Treaty. The risk of miscalculation and wider conflict is real. Will the Philippines hold the line, or will China's pressure prevail? Tonight, the world waits for the answer.